Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gita, chapter 2, text 27. Okay. I'm going to read the verse now. Okay, verse beginning. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad pariharyarthe na tvam shochitum arhasi. Translation: one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should Arjun be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives? Since he was discharging his proper duty, he did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyadi Bhaskete Deshatharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasiri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so chapter 2, text 27 of Bhagavad-gita. So this verse, I'll just read it again in case. Okay. Chapter 2 is still, we are still on the topic of Sankhya Yoga. That means detailed knowledge about the soul, which is chapter 2, text 13 to around 38. Text 13 to 38 of chapter 2. Sankhya Yoga. It's explaining in detail about the soul, description. So in this verse, it's mentioning that Jatasya hi dhruvomitru dhruvo janmritasya cha. One who is born is sure to die. One who has died is sure to be born. All right. This is called samsara chakra, cycle of birth and death. Common word in Sanskrit. Sometimes we hear about different countries that the life expectancy of this country is 50 years, or life expectancy is 70 years, 80 years, 90, 100. Different life expectancies in different countries. I think Japan has the highest life expectancy, and Sweden also. Okay, so yes, everyone has a different life expectancy, but one surprise for everyone is that we are all going to die. We are all going to die, whether today or tomorrow, or we'll die at 60, 70, 80. So why are we taking all these life expectancies? Everyone's going to die. This is the Bhagavad-gita is saying, because we took birth. In other words, the body. Our body took birth. So our body will die. Anything that takes birth has to die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur. So we take so much care of this body and we decorate it, we keep it so comfortable, we keep it very healthy, which is good, it's not bad, but sometimes we do these things too much. But after all, this body will die. This is a reality. This body is going to die one day. Okay, so in Shastra it says that this body will become either ash or stool or dust. Okay, it will become ash if you burn it. After someone dies, they burn the body. It will become dust if you bury it. Some people bury the body. Or it will become stool if you just leave the body and all different animals come and eat it. This is what Parsis do. Parsis is a group, religious group here in India. They let the crows or vultures eat the dead bodies. They put them up on the roof. So this body will become ash or stool or dust after all. So why are we so concerned? Why are we so careful about this body and making so many plans for its comfort and extending the life again and again and again? This body will die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur. One who's born is sure to die. Sometimes you meet people, they write books. People speak about or write books saying that you can conquer death. You just have to will it. Think positive. I don't have to die. I won't die. No, Bhagavad-gita says we'll all die. Okay. So our modern civilization, it hides death. It hides it such that people don't see death. And they avoid old people. So they want to hire someone, they'll hire all young people. And if the young person is getting old, then they'll fire them. Plus, the habit is that if we start getting white hair, we put black dye. And generally, old age is looked down upon. And death is looked down upon. If someone is going to die, then no one wants to go to them or visit them. Why? Because people are afraid of death. And people want to avoid death. And they don't want to see old people either. They put them in old age homes. Why? Because then that reminds them of death. The tradition before was that old person stays at home and we take care of them. But people don't do that, okay? So the thing is slaughterhouses. People like to eat meat, but where do they kill the animals? Very far away. There's a saying that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, then everyone would be vegetarian. So very nasty and peculiar habits of this civilization of avoiding old age and death, hiding death. Previously, when someone was dying, they will just be in the house. They'll not even go to hospital. And everyone will understand that this person is dying. Even the young kid will understand. Everyone comes face to face with death. So they understand. Now it's something really horrible. But Bhagavad-gita says, no, that is something that will happen. It's not to be necessarily avoided or hidden. It's a fact. Jatasya dhruvo mrityur. Who took birth? All of us took birth. I mean, all our bodies. So death is certain. Now, this fear of death is there. So much fear. Death and old age. It's so serious that people make money out of it. That whole cosmetic industry. That is because they want people to look young. People want to look young. So so many different facilities and treatments for that. Okay, why is this? Why is such a fear of death and old age? Old age is there because of death, actually. Why is that? And the reason is because of this material civilization is ignorant, demoniac, ignorant, because they don't know what is the goal of life. They don't know. Goal of life is self-realization. But in this materialistic civilization, they made the goal of life sense enjoyment. So if we want to enjoy, then, if we're getting old, so then we start to panic. I cannot enjoy, especially if I look old. I can't enjoy, I can't go out, everyone will avoid me. So I have to look young. And same with death. This is self-realized, sense gratificatory civilization. And so if he's any threat of his death, going to die, or if anyone in his family is going to die, then they don't want to see that person, put him in the hospital, don't bring him home. Why? Because their idea is that I have to enjoy, and they don't want to die, because if death comes, they can't understand that we're going to take birth again. They don't understand it. So they think my life will end. How will I enjoy? And where will I go? I don't know. So let me prolong and try to enjoy it as I can, as much as I can. This is a huge disaster of this modern materialistic civilization. Vedic society was not like that. As I said, in Vedic society, I guess you can call modern Indian society Vedic, but so many things have changed. Traditional Indian society or Vedic society, if say the grandfather, he'll be old, gradually become old, and he'll be dying, and everyone will just naturally go about their business. They understand, yes, he's dying. Okay, so we'll all die. What's the problem with that? That's not an issue. That would be the mood. And someone who's getting old, they'll understand that I'm getting old. Okay, so what do? Let me focus on self-realization. Old age is a gift because of that. Because when someone starts to get old, then gradually senses break down, mind breaks down, then they think what death is near. Let me immediately begin self-realization on fast track. Maybe the whole life they were doing it, but they'll do it more seriously. So that is a good gift of old age, that, our senses don't work anymore. Okay, so, but don't wait to old age, because who will go to old age? We don't know. We have to endeavor now. Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumaram acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. This Bhagavad Dharma or Bhakti, Krishna consciousness should be began and practiced from a young age. Kaumaram acharit pragya. We should, as soon as we have some pragya, intelligence and proper understanding, that comes at around age 7, 8. Otherwise, until then, we are like just animals running around, eating, sleeping, passing through. But at around 7 or 8, we get some brain and consciousness. So immediately we should begin self-realization at that time. That is what Prahlad Maharaj says. Don't wait to old age. Okay, but I'm just saying that when the old age comes, it's a natural thing to accept. And so then people don't rush around trying to look young, and they just accept it. So this is there in this verse of Bhagavad-gita, because before Bhagavad-gita was read all over India, people lived their life according to it, and they had absorbed the lessons of Bhagavad-gita very nicely. Within the Vedic culture, Indian culture, you can find precepts of Bhagavad-gita. It's there, because Vedic culture is what? It's from Shastra, and Bhagavad-gita is the, you can say, main literary support of India's Vedic tradition. So all the concepts are there. So therefore, we find in Vedic culture that people are not afraid of death. As such, it's not a hidden thing. Jatasya hi dhruva mritru dhruva janmitasya cha. One who is born is sure to die. They understood that. And one who's died is sure to take birth again. They understood that. So this is proper understanding. We should live like that, not this materialistic way of living where people are so much attached to enjoying the body till the last second that they're about to die. They want to enjoy the body, and they're called kripana. Kripana means miser. Opposite is a brahmana, and then kripana and brahmana. Brahmana means brahma janati iti brahmina. Brahma janati, they know Brahm, spiritual. They understand Brahm, the supreme personality of Godhead, para Brahman. Therefore, they call brahmana. Kripana means miser. He's a miser. Why is he a miser? Because he's given the body, he's given senses, he's given the brain, and he's given the Vedas, and he doesn't want to do anything about it. He wants to use air all the time for sense gratification. That is Kripana, miser. He's given everything, but he doesn't want to use it for God, for self-realization. We are saying for God, but it's your benefit. isn't it? It's our benefit when we do, when we practice self-realization. Of course, Krishna becomes very pleased when we start to endeavor to him, approach him through practicing bhakti. So now we should live our life accordingly, understanding that there will be death. That time is coming. This is not a long life. It looks long, but that's also Maya. I'm sure all of you, I guess we're all here above 20, 30, maybe. Is it 25? So if I tell you, remember when you were 3, 4 years old? Yes, we remember. And does it look so long ago? No, it doesn't. It doesn't look so long. You can just see it was like yesterday. And we're wondering how the time passed so fast. Now I'm so old. I was in school. Now I'm getting a job, or I'm married. What's going on? So that we have to understand that this time will pass very fast. And Ayur harati vaipum sam udyan ashtan chayan aso swayam eva yakshananita uttama shloka vartaye. Srimad Bhagavatam says that every time the sun rises and sets, it's taking away our time. It's taking away our duration of life day by day. That is the sun. Sun is in charge of time, Kala Chakra. So it spins on its orbit, moves. Actually, yes, sun moves. That's according to the Vedas. Modern science says no, sun is stationary, but Vedas came first and they're from God, so we accept. So the sun revolves around, and in doing so, it takes away our time. So our time is taken away, and we should use our time carefully. When the time goes, it doesn't come back. Ayur harati, duration of life is taken. Ayur harati vaipu sam udyan ashtan jayan aso swayam eva yakshananita uttama shloka vartayam. But the sun cannot take the time away which is used for bhakti. Right now you're listening to Bhagavad-gita, and if you're chanting, or if you're engaged in any service of the temple or Krishna, then that means that time is not taken away. How is that? How we are to understand? I cannot understand. I cannot explain logically. But Bhagavatam says this point, that time is going every second. But if it's engaged in Krishna, that time is not taken away by the sun. It cannot be taken away. Okay, I guess if I had to speculate, that means that the time is invested. Okay. Now we have to live our life accordingly to understand that this is not eternal life. It's not eternal. We've been given an opportunity. We've been given this body, and we're given senses for the purpose of self-realization. That's jatasya hi dhruvo, kamasa nendriya priti. Jivasa tattva jigyasa. The goal of life is self-realization. We are meant to endeavor for self-realization. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters in this world. Everything will be left behind. Everything will go. But whatever advancement we make before we die, that will stay with us for eternity until we reach 100%. If we in this life reach 10%, then when we take birth again, we'll start from 10%. Then again, we say 40% we do, so it comes to 50. Then we die next, like that. So the bhakti does not deplete. It doesn't neha become a nasha asti. It does not. There is no nash, destruction of bhakti. It will remain eternally. Okay, so we should endeavor. We should endeavor in bhakti. This is intelligent. And regarding material life, we should do minimum just to survive. I should eat, otherwise I'll die. So I should eat. I should keep a good health, maintain basic things, and the rest of the time self-realization. But there's no point spending so much effort and time in material advancement when we'll die and leave everything behind. Okay, just like many of you have taken trains. If you board a train, and in the carriage, in your berth, they call it berth, 6 beds in one berth. So in that berth, if you start to clean it and wash it and start to fix some pictures and put some fixtures and fittings, put a carpet, isn't that really nonsense? Why? Because when your stop comes, you will go. So no one's going to become very comfortable, isn't it? So similarly, this life it's not for getting too comfortable, because it's going to go. So instead, we should prepare for death. There's some people who make so many elaborate plans for children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, leave them so much money, whatever. But they don't even understand what birth they'll take in the next life. What if we take a dog body? What will we do? When we'll be greatly inconvenienced, we'll miss the goal of life. So we should plan it properly. Okay, now we don't have to fear death. Some people have this fear of death, not some, practically everyone has fear of death. And the reason of that fear is because we don't know what will happen after that. Where are we going? We can't understand. But I'll tell you, another fear of death is because people are sinful and they understand, now I have to pay for the sin. And I don't want to do that, not right now. So actually, for one who is practicing bhakti sincerely and wholeheartedly, we don't have to fear death. Death for a devotee is simply coming to Krishna, coming to Goloka. One analogy is given that a cat carries her kitten, children, with her mouth, isn't it? So when the kitten, baby cat, is being carried by the cat, mother cat, even though she is being held in the mouth, the kitten doesn't think that I'm going to die. The kitten is feeling very safe and comfortable in the mouth of her mother cat. There's no safer place for the kitten. The kitten thinks, I'm very safe here. I'm under mother's direct contact now. She's taking care of me until the cat puts the kitten somewhere with the mouth. Okay, and but when the same mouth of the cat is holding a mouse, what does the mouse think? The mouse understands, no, my death has come. This is the end for me. So for a devotee, death is like the cat carrying the kitten. He's thinking, now Krishna is going to take me. I'm going back. I'm going to meet Krishna. I'm going back. That's a devotee's thought. But for a non-devotee, what is his thought? When death comes, that, oh, I'm going to be punished, so I'm going to hell, or I'm going to take birth again. So a devotee doesn't have to fear death in that sense. Okay. So that is there. If we are sincere, then we don't have to fear death. Okay, but for atheists don't accept God. They don't accept any intelligent order of the universe. They think that everything is just existing just by chance on its own. Kim anyat kama heitukam. Kim anyat, there is no goal, they think, of this existence. Kama heitukam. Everything is based on lust, that whatever you want, you enjoy, that's it. So for the atheist, Krishna says, Mrityu sarva harashchaham, that I am all devouring death. He says that the death, when I come as death, then they will see me. So those who don't accept God, they see God as death. At the time of death, they accept God. And then God, sarvahara, he takes everything away. Okay. Now, this verse has two sides. This verse is saying, Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu. One is born is sure to die. Then the other side is, Dhruva janam mritasya cha. One who has died is sure to be born again. Yes, rebirth. We accept that in Vedic. We gave a lot of examples of that. Some of you are new. So, but anyway, reincarnation is a fact, scientific fact. Bhagavad-gita explains it. So one who is died is sure to be born again. Arjun didn't challenge that. That was accepted all over the world at that time. Okay, so this is the other side of the verse, that if you die, you'll take birth again. Yes, you'll take birth again. We cannot avoid taking birth again. We have to take rebirth. This is called samsara chakra, the cycle of birth and death. We are all in this cycle. It's very painful because every time that we leave our previous life, we leave behind attachments of people and objects. And well, our own body, we are so attached to that. And sometimes very, very deep attachments. Okay, but death is a fact. And so we become detached before that. We can't escape the cycle of rebirth because we are under a higher power, Daivi Prakritim. We are under a higher power, Krishna's material energy, Maya Shakti, which is forcing us to take birth again and again. Okay. Why is there birth and death in this material world? In the spiritual world, we are eternal. There is no birth and death. We're just living. In this material world, there is rebirth. And that is very painful for people. Okay. So at the birth is painful. We hear death is painful, disease, yes, old age, birth, how is it painful? Yes, when people challenge, I tell them, have you ever seen a child who's just born laughing? No, they're all crying. They're suffering. We can't understand that. But the whole act of birth, during the process of birth, the child sometimes dies or goes into extreme trauma. It's very painful. As soon as they're born, they start crying because they can't understand where they are, who these people are. And they've been given senses. And so these senses are new for them. So they cannot use them. And then so much information is coming. So they're bewildered. So children are born crying. Birth is suffering. Birth, death, old age, and disease, everyone has to go through. Whatever, even if we have any good karma, or even if we have, we're born in a rich family, or whatever we have to take birth, become old, get disease, and die. Okay, so, but in the spiritual, it's not there. Why is it in the material world? There's a purpose. Okay, what is the purpose? In this material world, we have come here because of material desires. We have desires to fulfill, which cannot be fulfilled in Vaikuntha. Because in Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntanath, the Lord of Vaikuntha is one, Krishna, one, Goloka. And over there, the goal is just to satisfy him. Others are not able, should not try to satisfy themselves. If they do that, they will take birth in the material world. So having been, we came to this material world because of having material desire to enjoy in this world. Now, having appeared in this world, we are going through the cycle of birth and death. Why? Why do we keep changing the body? And the answer is because we have desire to enjoy in this world, and that desire keeps changing. The desire changes. For example, I have one desire now. And what is my desire in previous life, here, in this life, that is it. I'm born in a certain country, culture. I'm born in a certain place, in a certain kind of religion, certain kind of body, mind, and that is all the fruit, karma phal of my actions in the past life. Karma phal, fruits of my actions. Okay, so every time we live, we develop new desires. And the plan of nature is simply to fulfill your desire. Okay, now we have different desires. So depending on our desire, we'll take birth in a certain place. You know, and not only certain place, certain body, certain family. Okay, that depends on desire and depends on karma also. Karma and desire. Ichcha, karma gives us the next destination. So I was explaining, why is there rebirth and birth and death? Why is there a cycle of continuous birth and death? And the answer is because that every time we are living a life, we develop new desire. So in order for us to go to the other place to fulfill our desire, because our desires change. So now the new desire we want, now instead of India, I want to be born in Australia, and I want to be in IT, and I want to own a big Mercedes and whatever. So I try in this life, I cannot do it, and I die with that desire. Then I take birth in Australia. family with a Mercedes, maybe, if I have the karma, or a scooter. So depending on my desire, I'll take birth somewhere. The desires are changing. So in order to fulfill the new desire, so the death happens so that we are taken out of this body, family, society, and placed in another place to fulfill that desire. As our desires go on and on, so the birth goes again and again. Again, we keep taking birth, and again, we have to keep suffering. Okay, why? Because of material desires are continuing. So rebirth happens again because of our material desire. The root cause of material existence is material desire. Desire to enjoy in this world. Or we could say forgetfulness of Krishna as our supreme worshipable deity, as supreme friend, supreme master, supreme lover, depends on the rasa, of course. So as long as we have material desire, it will bind us to this material world, just like you have a binding, like a knot, like that. So you cannot leave, you cannot go. I'm trying to go, I cannot go, because what is keeping me here? My desire. We have to overcome the desire. Otherwise, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. We will die and take birth and die and take birth again and again to fulfill our desire. Krishna says, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajami aham. As you surrender, so I will reward you. That means that what we want, Krishna is giving that. Why am I taking birth? Why is there death? We want it. We want it. If we finish our material desires, we won't come back. Then it's not dhruva jatasihi dhruva mrityu dhruva janmritasya cha. One who's died is sure to be reborn. No, not for one who has overcome material desires. Overcoming material desires, this is not so easy. It's not easy if we are in any other process besides bhakti. Basically, as long as we try to enjoy this body or the family or this material world or any of the senses, that means the body, then we must take birth again, because we are sending a signal to the Paramatma that, yes, I still have this enjoyment. So Paramatma is saying, okay, we'll bring you back. Now, it's not easy to just stop all these things. That's not the system. Krishna conscious means whatever you have it, you use it for Krishna. Okay, engage family in service of Krishna, engage the body in the service of Krishna. Senses, Hrishikesh, master of the senses. Hrishikena, Hrishikesha, Sevanam. Hrishika means senses. Senses should be engaged in service of the master of the senses, Hrishikesh. So he should be the object of service. Now we serve ourselves or our country, our political party, our family. We may also do these things, but we should understand ultimately we are meant to serve the master of the senses. Hrishikesh, he is the object of worship. Ekala Ishwar Krishna, Arasa Britya. In this whole manifestation, Ekale Ishwar Krishna, the controller, the Lord is only one, Krishna, Arasa Britya. All others are his servants. All others means even the Vishnu forms. Everyone is his servant. Everyone is serving Krishna in different ways. Of course, how do we have? That's obvious, because we see Mahavishnu, he exhales, universes come out of his body. Then he inhales, universes come back. In between that time, the whole creation happens. And 311 trillion human years passes. So Vishnu is serving Krishna. That's the plan. So all the three Vishnus serving Krishna. So we have to understand Krishna is the only enjoyer. If we don't, then we have to take birth again. How do we do that? By the process of bhakti. First of all, we should not willfully increase our sense gratification. If we do that, it binds us to this world, just like a knot. I talked about a knot. Like there's a knot. So I like that. This is the binding. It's called ahankar. Ahankar means false identification that I am the body and I am Indian and I am Hindu or I'm Gujarati. false identification. I am a servant of Krishna, that's all. There is no other upadhi, designation for the jiva. So the more we try to enjoy this world, the more it binds us and binds us. So what shall we do? So I was saying that, of course, that you see, this verse has two parts. One who's born is sure to die, one who's died is sure to be born. So now, during the birth and death, that period, what shall we do? We should do bhakti, devotional service. We should use everything in the service of Krishna. We should read books of Prabhupada, read them, because Prabhupada is sent by Krishna. He's a pure devotee, Acharya. By reading his books, we get purified. Our consciousness is purified to our original consciousness of Krishna consciousness. So by reading, we get purified, and then we chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. These things purify us. Okay, so in that way, it's not dhruva janmritasya cha, that after you die, you'll take birth again. No, not for devotee. This is required, this knowledge, it's required to be remembered. And if you read Bhagavad-gita daily, then we'll do a tremendous benefit to ourselves, because these topics that we are speaking, you'll always be reminded of them. And then our life will be very sublime, because we'll keep remembering that we have to serve Krishna. Everything is done for pleasure of Krishna. And for devotee, then we don't talk about death. We don't start to worry about death and all these things. We simply serve Krishna, because what will happen? We are serving now, and when we die, what will happen? Then we'll die. And because we are so much absorbed in bhakti and attached to Krishna and kirtan, prasadam, devotees, temple, and reading, and attached to Bhagavad-gita and attached to hearing Bhagavad-gita as you are now. So when you become attached to that, so Krishna knows that that's his attachment. So Suchinam Shivatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Vijayate. One who has not finished the process of the yoga process, for us Bhakti Yoga, he'll take birth in a family, Shuchinam Shimatam Gehe, either Shimatam, rich family, or Suchinam, very pure, spiritually advanced personalities, such that he'll get opportunity to advance and go on. So if we do bhakti, and then at the point of death, we'll go to another destination, which is auspicious. Or we'll go to Goloka if we're perfect. So for a devotee, that too much concern of death is not there. And this comes by constantly reading and practicing bhakti. We get this feeling of detachment from this world and from the body, that we understand, I'm not this world, I'm not a part of this world, I'm not part of this, I'm not this body. So therefore, they begin to identify more strongly as a soul. And if their intelligence is very purified by reading Shastra and hearing Bhagavad-gita lectures, then intelligence becomes fixed to understand that they are servant of Krishna. Now, when the jiva is very fixed in this way, then he very easily is able to focus his mind as a servant of Krishna. So when we read Bhagavad-gita, there's a great benefit we get by always remembering these topics. Okay, so in this particular verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna that do not be afraid of your fighting and killing your relatives, because he's saying that you cannot kill them. They're not going to die. They're going to take birth again. Okay, so you can simply fight and do your duty. Here, I'll open it. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna that you have a duty to fight as a Kshatriya. Now you don't want to fight. You're thinking that if I do my duty as a Kshatriya, I'll kill my relatives. I'll kill these people. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that you don't have to worry about that, because you cannot really kill anyone. I mean, the body dies, of course, but the person will take birth again. You cannot end their existence. They'll not vanish. They'll not go, they will not cease to exist. You cannot do that. Because Jatasi Dhruva Mrityu, that one who's died is sure to be born again. So he said that Krishna is telling Arjuna, why should you be aggrieved at the death of your relatives? Just do your duty properly. Okay, so therefore he's telling Arjuna that if you don't have to stop your duty thinking I'm going to end their existence. You have to do your duty as a Kshatriya. Everyone has to do their dharma. Now, if we say this, many times people get scared. What are we saying here? That you have to fight a war? That devotees, is it okay to kill our relatives? And or someone asked that question here, one of the classes. But no, we have to understand the situation properly. This is a dharma yuddha, religious war, which is only fought among under proper dharma, and that there's no chance of that in Kali Yuga. So, or maybe in future when the devotees fill the planet, as is predicted for 10,000 years. But dharma yuddha, at that situation, the Kshatriya is meant to fight, because Kshatriya's duty is to protect dharma, and for that he has to fight. So actually Arjuna was on the side of dharma, so he had to fight. He should not avoid. If he avoided and didn't do his duty, then he'll get a sinful reaction. He'll have to suffer for that. So we shouldn't think that it means that I can fight any war and kill anyone because anyway they'll take birth again. No, because this was Krishna's order. Okay, let Krishna directly say, then that is a dharma yuddha. And another thing is that you can't say I'll kill you because anyway you'll take birth again. You'll not stop your rebirth, your life. No, because what happens is that you're inconveniencing the person. Just like if someone's living in a house and you evict him from the house, then it's inconvenience and you'll get arrested. Why are you throwing him out of his house? So similarly, someone's given the body and it's for a purpose of bhakti. But if he decides not to do that, anyway, what can we do? But if someone forcefully kills someone, then you're taking the soul out. Then he has to again take a birth to fulfill his karma. So therefore, that is not, it's not condoned. Killing is not condoned under any condition. Okay, so here it's written in the purport, this cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. All right, that is saying this. Okay, but at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. We're not also saying that devotee, I'm a devotee, I'm not going to fight. We don't want to do war. No, because Krishna is saying that these are inevitable factors for keeping law and order. There will always be people who are sinful and who are misbehaved, addicted to sinful activity. So there should always be Kshatriyas to protect the people and make them keep the dharma intact. Dharma samsthapanarthaya. So that class of people should always be there. So we can't avoid war and these things, but we don't want it. Okay, so here it says that in this particular verse that Krishna is telling Arjuna, and for our benefit also, that we should know this point, that we are living in this world. We should know that we took birth, so we have to die. But when we die, we'll take birth again. So we shouldn't be afraid of death. But we should prepare and understand that we're not living eternally. This situation will end. We have a body, we're in ISKCON, we have books. So do it, advance in bhakti. Otherwise, we don't know what the next situation will be. We should keep that in mind. This verse is telling us. So, and then at the same time, we understand that if someone dies, they'll take birth again. That is, unless we are liberated. Okay, so this is the verse, chapter 2, text 27. Jata si dhruva mrityu, dhruva janmitasya cha. Tasmat apariharyarthe natvam shochitum arasi. Translation again, one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Don't lament, he's telling Arjuna. Just do your duty as a Kshatriya. They will take birth again. You cannot end their existence. Okay, so I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. If there's any question, then you can